Hello everybody, welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. Today the Jamaican term of rude boy is used to describe a street tough guy or rebellious working class youth. But not many people know the origins of this slang or the person who first embodied this urban archetype. While there were certainly dangerous men before him, the first Jamaican public enemy number one was a young man called Ivanhoe Martin, aka Rhygin, a larger-than-life outlaw that modeled his image and persona on the gunslingers in Hollywood westerns and the real-life gangsters during America's alcohol prohibition and depression eras. For 5 months, he terrified an entire section of the island society while being celebrated as a folk hero and people champion by another section, taunting the island's entire law enforcement machinery, chasing after him with letters and even cheeky photo shoots for the media amidst what was the largest manhunt in Jamaican history. His cultural impact was so monumental that he would be name-checked by Jamaican musicians for decades after his demise, and was direct inspiration for the character named Ivan, played by singer Jimmy Cliff in the classic 1972 movie The Harder They Come, a movie celebrated as not only Jamaica's first feature film, and an enormously successful one at that, but one that was the first to truly beam the island's culture and music to a global audience. This outlaw became the prototype of many future bad men that will scar Jamaica for generations to come. But who was Rhygin and what was his story? To begin with, he was born in the small town of Linstead in St. Catherine's Parish of Jamaica in 1924. Following in the footsteps of countless youths from the countryside, he would move to the capital of Kingston in search of greener pastures while he was barely a teenager. Said to be really slim and short with an effeminate voice, he would compensate by building a reputation for intense violence. After several arrests and a 6-month prison sentence for stealing, he joined a notorious street gang in Kingston and would be in and out of jail over the next few years. He was a regular at Kingston cinemas like the Majestic and the Carib Rialto, where he immersed himself in Hollywood movies by actor Alan Ladd, who was then known for his tough guy roles like the iconic western Shane. It was his hero worship of these characters that more than anything else influenced his criminal outlaw persona. All the ingredients of what he would become were already there, but the fuse was lit when he was sentenced to 5 years in prison for armed robbery in 1946. But rather than serve his sentence, he would dramatically break out of Kingston Penitentiary in April 1948 by jumping from a 2-story high window and vanishing into the maze of tenement yards and ghettos that were occupied by the poorest inhabitants of the capital. Despite a massive manhunt, Rhygin would elude the police for 4 whole months. I believe he enjoyed the support of the local criminal networks and the poor working class folk who idolized his resistance to the authorities that they regarded as the oppressors. His notoriety would truly assume national proportions when the police, who were acting on a tip-off, traced him to the Carib Hotel on Regent Street while he was in the company of a young lady. The police would corner him in his room and, dressed only in underpants and armed with 2 revolvers, shot his way out of that hotel and disappeared once again into the slums where he was the hero, despite the massive dragnet that was set up to catch him on August 31st of that year. Totally convinced that a man called Eric Goldson had been the one who tipped off the police, Rhygin went straight to his home to finish him off, and when he couldn't find him, he would instead shoot his girlfriend. This singular act would turn him from a street hero to an overnight public enemy. But despite all the efforts of the police, he evaded the authorities for the next 5 weeks. The whole of Kingston was tense as Rhygin began to pop up all over town like a ghost and would assume a scary larger-than-life persona, writing letters to the very detective that was leading his manhunt and also public letters to the island's biggest newspaper, The Gleaner, taunting the authorities who by then looked helpless, especially after Rhygin popped up one day and shot a man in the streets without provocation before melting away into the darkness. And he would also appear at Kingston's entertainment hotspots like nightclubs and bars and got treated like a VIP. But the height of it was when Rhygin got a journalist to take his photograph posing with his 2 guns and got it published in the papers. After the then mayor of Kingston, Alexander Bustamante, the future prime minister, placed a bounty of £200 on Rhygin's head, the outlaw called the home telephone of a government minister to threaten Bustamante's life before escaping from Kingston to his hometown of Linstead, where he hid with some childhood friends for some time. With the net tightening around him, Rhygin hatched a plan to escape to Cuba via a seaport called Line K, leveraging on his network of local support groups, including some fishermen who would take him by canoe several kilometers into open water, from where he would board a bigger boat that would ferry him to the port of Santiago de Cuba. So on the 9th of September 1948, Rhygin successfully evaded several checkpoints and roving squads of detectives and made his way to Line K to wait for the fishing boats that would take him off Jamaican soil. But by this time, his luck had run out, as the police had tracked him and closed in on his position before ambushing him. But like the characters he idolized in the movies he loved, he didn't go down quietly and was eventually gunned down after what was an hour-long gun battle. Rhygin was finally dead. His body was put on display at the city's morgue, and thousands of people besieged it to confirm if the man who had terrified the entire country was truly no more. And one of them, his number one target, Eric Goldson, who after seeing his body famously said, "The race is not for the swift. Rhygin, you're gone at last." The police would bury him in an unmarked grave in the area of Cockburn Pen, and did this to deny criminals a place to pay their respects to him and to kill off his legend once and for all. But despite this, his story became one of the most popular urban tales in Jamaican history, with many people still claiming for years that they had seen Rhygin in the streets long after he was supposedly buried. In fact, he was so engraved in Jamaica's popular culture that filmmaker Perry Henzell would make the movie The Harder They Come out of a story that became a massive hit. Not to mention him being immortalized in Jamaican poet Miss Lou's poem Dead Man, plus being name-checked by popular Jamaican musicians including Linton Kwesi Johnson, Supercat, and so many others. Ultimately, a deplorable criminal and dangerous man who inadvertently was regarded by many as some sort of urban Robin Hood. The downtrodden in society often identify with people bold enough to challenge the oppressive authorities, as history has always shown us. But beneath the legend and public hype, the man the world remembers as Rhygin was for sure no hero. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.